Hola a todos. Me gustaría mucho hacer la presentación en español, pero no consigo hablar de DAOs y gobernanza todavía con proficiencia en esta lengua. Yo soy de Brasil, como ya me presentaron acá, y voy a hacer en inglés, pero me gustaría mucho la próxima vez conseguir hacer en español. Me gustaría primero también de agradecer a Sid, Latan y Romy por invitarme a hablar acá. Organizaciones como esta son especiales además. Sí, sí. Pero vamos a cambiar al inglés y empezar a hablar sobre DAOs, transparencia y anonimato en DAOs y gobernanza. Well, thanks everyone for being here. We're going to dive a little bit deeper on privacy today and talk about how privacy can impact the future of DAOs. First of all, let me see if I can do it. Yeah, first of all, who am I? My name is Joao. I'm from Brazil. I am one of the co-founders and founding members of Bankless Brazil DAO, where I was for basically 2 years building governance, multimedia, creating content, and also helping on governance. It was actually the first DAO that we had in Brazil, so it is very special to me, even though I'm not on the project anymore. Right now, I'm the co-founder and I'm doing research on Modular Crypto. It's a media company that basically aims to provide the best content possible for Brazilian speakers. And I'm also, as I put there, I'm eager to learn. So I'm always trying to learn new things, trying to educate people, because not only in Brazil, but especially there, as where I am, I know that with education, we can show people that governance and Web3 in general is not just a financial thing, it's not just like a financial market 2.0. Like, we are providing value and providing tools to people to build the next generation, the next infrastructure. So that's who am I. I'm just trying to present a little bit myself here. Oh, sorry. I think I got the wrong one. Yeah. So what's a DAO? I know that probably you all know what's a DAO, but I always try to bring this up because it's funny and it's interesting to me. So DAOs are decentralized autonomous organization, but at the same time they are decentralized but not that much. They are autonomous but without that much autonomy, and also they are organized but not that well. What I'm saying here is not that DAOs do not work, but I'm saying that DAOs are still in an experimental phase. So we are still developing and trying to understand what DAOs are. And what DAOs can do, everything, man. Like, DAOs can try to build a city, DAOs can develop a protocol, DAOs can basically organize governance. So DAOs can do everything right now, and that's something very good and at the same time very bad. And we will dive deeper later into that. Well, governance is also a huge part when we talk about DAOs, because without governance, we do not actually have DAOs. And governance, for those that you don't know, is basically the process of decision making that happens inside DAOs. But that's very interesting, because we are finally achieving the path to do things collectively, not only individuals decide things, not only a council or some small group. We are actually giving powers to individuals to develop and build the DApp or the organization together. And like, we have some specs here that are different between governance on Web3 and Web 2. Basically, we have public things, we have centralized, we have transparency, we have a lot of things that we do not have when we talk about Web 2. Sorry. Yeah, and we have a lot of problems when we talk about governance today. Not only Web 3, we are talking on Web 2 here. And the first one is the failed democracy as an instrument for decision making. The time has already proven that the system that we have today isn't the most efficient. As we can see on this chart here, basically the people don't want to engage more on politics. And that's a huge, huge problem, because stakeholder apathy is a reality in democratic system, in DAOs, in Web 2 and Web 3. And people don't want to vote anymore. People don't want to engage on governance anymore. As we can see here, mostly, like, we now have basically 60% of the world voting on things. And voter turnout is decreasing all over the world. And I'm not talking on Web3 here yet, because on Web3 the thing is even worse. And I love memes, guys. I'm sorry about that, but problems on Web3 governance today. Basically, everything can be a DAO, as I mentioned earlier, and that's good, because everything can be a DAO. We can construct things, we can experiment things, but at the same time, everything can be a DAO, so you just have to say that's a DAO. You can put in the name like XYZ DAO, and that's a DAO. But when you dive into a lot of the projects that we have today, they are actually not a DAO. They just put it on the name, they just create some token, but when you dive deep, you see that the token is just controlled by some founding members of some smaller group that basically decide everything that the organization do. We have other flaws, such as governance models right now are not well developed. We have basically one token, one vote. We have delegate models, but they are not actually providing power to the people. Because when you delegate things, we have some flaws. We have people that will know more than other ones. So I do not think yet we are on the right path for the future of DAOs. But as I mentioned earlier, we are still experimenting things. And as in Congress, DAOs actually form smaller groups that end up deciding and trying to impose things the way that they think they want. So basically what I'm saying here, every DAO that you guys will look into, you will see that we have smaller groups that basically will advocate in their own interests. And these own interests will not be the best interests for the DAO. So we are seeing that as we speak, and it's very interesting to see this move, because even though DAOs are amazing, I am a huge fan of DAOs, we have a lot of problems that we need to acknowledge, and we need to dive deep into that, because otherwise we will stay on this thing that we are seeing right now, and we will not evolve to better governance models, to better DAOs, to better products. And I like that phrase very much that Vitalik said. I will read for you guys. I will be quick. Decentralized governance is necessary, but coin voting governance in its current form has many acknowledged and unacknowledged dangers. Argumenting or moving beyond coin voting is a key part of the solution. So even Vitalik said that coin voting isn't the best model that we have. And unfortunately, more than 50% of DAOs right now use this model. And as I mentioned, it's not very efficient. Basically, it's not efficient at all. Moving on, I mentioned this earlier, but I want to dive a little bit deeper, because voter turnout in DAOs are extremely, extremely low. What I'm saying here, people don't want to participate in governance. People don't want to engage in governance. We have Nouns DAO, we have AviDAO, we have Uniswap. So I'm not bringing up like some small DAOs that are arriving right now. We are talking about some solid projects that has its own governance models, but people don't engage in it. If you guys take a deeper look at Nouns or Avi or Uniswap, you guys will see like it gets to a point that you even have to question yourself. Do like the people really decide what the DAOs do and do not do? Because if 4 or 5% of the token holders vote, it's probably the guys that has like the most tokens, the whales. And if the project is decentralized, just the whales can control it. I don't think so. So I want to point out this. I got actually surprised because I do not think it was this low. I knew that Nouns, for example, had some difficulties engaging members in its own governance, but I actually did not thought it was this low. Like, for example, 4%, 5%, 7%. Come on, man. Imagine, like, for example, I think here we have like 200, 300 people. Imagine if 4 or 5% of this only engage in a DAO. Like, that's not decentralized. That's just a small group deciding things and deciding what to do and what to not to do. Talked about here. So we have a problem that governance right now it's hard. And how can we manage that? Well, one way is basic balancing transparency and anonymity, because governance 103 is amazing, it's beautiful, we have transparency, we have decentralization, but open voting, but public votings are not the best way to provide that governance. And why is that? Because we have some problems, have some flaws. Public voting can compromise its own members and or bias the result of a decision. Imagine, for example, we have a public voting and the option A is winning and lasting like 5 minutes to the decision end. A whale decides to vote against it, or 1 minute, or 30 seconds. And I may say crazy, may sound crazy here, but that happened. That happened in the past. Governance attack is a real thing. And if governance is not aligned and very well executed, the protocol may even fail, as we saw in the past with some of them. So when we talk about public and open votes, we talk about the possibility of members being suppressed by the majority. For example, we're going to see some examples later, but people don't want to go against the majority of people because they can feel ostracized. They can, even their own DAO can basically oppress its own members. And that's happened with some DAOs that we'll dive into later on. And as we think that it's not that hard, like think for a bit about Web 2. If our model today were completely open and everyone knows, like, knew from which people we are voting and from like how was our power or is our power, we would probably not like. That's one of the reasons why voting today is closed, at least. We have some example in Brazil. I really wanted to read this for you guys because it resembles where I'm from. Because sometime while in Brazil, voting was basically voting is direct and confidential today, but was direct and open. So basically, everyone could know from like where you vote and where you would not vote. And we end up creating some mechanisms that was calling cabresto voting. Basically, the people that had more money end up deciding the election or deciding the results because they paid for people to vote and to not vote on them. We have something similar today on Web3 with bribes, but at least I think it's different because it's all transparent. It's on blockchain, you can opt in or you can opt out. But this model, as we saw in Brazil, in the old republic, end up like creating some kind of coercion because people don't want to go against the majority or the ones that were paying them to vote. Yeah, so I got some real examples for you guys for this problem that I'm mentioning. For example, as I talked here, nobody should feel pressure about the way that can or they cannot vote. Nouns DAO, for example, is being on a hard situation right now. I don't know if you guys could read this one and two things here, but basically what they're saying is in this one or this one, I would vote publicly yes, but privately no. And in the second one here, they are talking about rage quit is a mechanism that Nouns DAO is discussing right now. And they are saying that if you think rage quit should be implemented, I don't think you should vote it public because 4156, that's one of the founders of Nouns DAO, basically is against the idea. So what this guy is saying is that you can participate in governance, you can do everything. But if you go against the majority of people, if you go against the founders of the DAO, you will be oppressed, you will be ostracized from its own DAO. So we have a problem. We have a problem that people do not feel freely open on governance and feel freely to do what they want because they have fear, because they have they are afraid of what the consequence can be or cannot be for them. And what is this? What is this tool that I'm showing to you guys? It's Hey Anon. It's a tool that Nouns DAO created to give feedback anonymously on proposals. So they use zero knowledge proofs to make nouns holders, to let nouns holders give feedback on proposals. And if you guys look on their Twitter, you'll see the most amazing and insane things because people are saying that they do not feel totally comfortable talking about how they should vote and how they should not vote. People are being basically oppressed in a way that they cannot control their votes, man. They literally cannot control their votes because if they go against a proposal, they are afraid that the DAO itself are going to go against them. And that's on a lot of these tools because each single one of these is one different person, one different, basically people saying that they are not comfortable talking free inside Nouns governance. And yeah, this is a tool that basically helps them to give some feedback, but this feedback is just some kind of anonymous confession, not related to governance at all, and not enforcement, just a tool to speak freely inside Nouns without being ostracized by its own DAO. And we have some solutions, but we have to balance basically transparency and anonymity to get this solution, because otherwise we will have a completely anonymous voting mechanism that already proved to ourselves that isn't the best, because we have some flaws with anonymity too. And we have completely transparency. We also are seeing here that people are not completely free to vote. They are, every single time, every vote that they participate, they are afraid of what could happen and what could not happen, even to them and their own DAO. Well, some of the works that we are seeing today, keep in mind that we are still in an experimental phase, so we do not have concrete answers. We're just having some experimenting of what could happen and could not happen in the future of DAOs. One of the ones that I like the most is private voting. For example, Snapshot already implemented shielded voting. What happened is basically this simple thing that changes when you talk about voting. This first one is it's an open public voting where you can see how's the voting happen if they decide to go against or for it. And with shielded voting, they can do everything literally shielded. So you will see like the quorum of the people that already voted, how many tokens they voted, but you will not see if they voted for or against it. And that actually can be pretty dumb for some people, but that can actually help a lot of DAOs to basically give this not let them give this last minute warning. So it basically provides some kind of privacy to the DAO, because after the voting ends, this end up like being released, let's put it that way. And that changes a lot, because if it's not during the voting, but after the voting, the community feel more free to vote, and that's just one of the ways that they are trying to implement some privacy on voting. One other way that I like a lot is using zero knowledge proofs in DAOs. Zero knowledge as a whole are still in the experimental phase, so we do not have a lot of projects doing that, but we have some already working on solutions for DAOs. For example, this up here is Sismo. Sismo is a project that basically aims to provide ZK badges to people using zero knowledge. So they are basically a modular protocol that wants to give these ZK badges to people, to wallets, and to basically they can provide value information. If they have a token, if they already voted on something, they can create some kind of reputation system using zero knowledge proofs. And that's very, very interesting. Vitalik already talked a little bit more about this, but as I mentioned earlier, we are still on experimental phase, and we do not have anything yet concrete related to zero knowledge and governance. But we have this partnership, this huge partnership that's being developed right now between Nouns, Aragon, and Aztec. That what happened? Basically, Nouns, as we saw here, has a lot of problems. And one of the problems is voting. And they submitted a proposal on their own governance system to create some kind of privacy decay mechanism for voting. And they discussed a lot. Some people submitted a proposal, and one of the teams that end up winning is Aztec and Aragon. If you guys don't know Aztec, Aragon is one of the oldest and biggest DAOs infrastructure provider right now, and also Aztec is very well known for research and privacy things. So they partnered, and they are developing a mechanism to implement zero knowledge proofs inside Nouns. They're still developing. It's still in the works. But if they achieve this, I truly believe they can be a game changer, especially for Nouns, as I bring here some people saying that they are not truly feel comfortable voting on Nouns. And I think that can expand to other DAOs. And another way to improve this is funding research and funding mechanism on privacy and DAOs. DAOs, as I mentioned here, are still experimenting things, and one of the things that we should experiment the most are privacy, because that can impact a lot. But that's just not that easy, right? Because the thing is, do DAOs really want what's best for the organization? And most of the times, I will arguably say no. Because we have these smaller groups inside the DAOs that they just defend themselves, and they are basically there trying to get what's best for them, not what's best for the DAO. And if we have the right governance model, we can combat that, we can do something about that. But if we still using the same governance models that we have right now, when talking on voting, for example, it's going to be very, very hard to do something about that. And at the same time, we have some things that we should be worried about, Because, for example, even shielded voting is still not experimenting to be the best thing right now. For example, Avi just experimented 2 months of working with shielded voting, so they basically did this change. Nothing changed. They do not vote on a different platform. They do not vote on a different way. They just shielded the vote while still open. But unfortunately, the DAO end up, the people end up decreasing their interest, their voting participation. So we do not have a lot of good cases right now. We actually have ApeCoin DAO decided 2 or 3 months ago that they do not want to implement a shielded voting. And you guys can ask me why, and I probably could not answer you guys, because when you see on the governance forum and even on the snapshot, nobody told why they vote no. But the biggest whales voted no without any hesitation. They don't engage in the governance forums. They don't give feedback on proposals. But when the proposals goes to snapshots or to Tally or to other governance mechanism, they vote against it. And I wonder why. Is it because they are the biggest whales? Is it because they are on the power right now and don't want to lose that? I don't know. But that's something that we should question a lot, that we should question ourselves, because if we want really DAOs to thrive, we could not be controlled by governance models that just focus on whales and on people that has like huge amounts of tokens. And like to wrap it up, I just want to say thank you or gracias for everyone that's here. The future of DAOs is being made as we talk right now. So get involved, discuss, get involved, man. Like DAOs are still experimenting. We do not have anything right or anything wrong. Everything can be done and nothing can be done at the same time if you do not work for it. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias.
Aplausos.